Welcome back, everybody. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. Here's a little salute to the family down there. I'm sure they're watching the Panthers and the Oilers in another shootout down there in South Florida. Good luck to them. And as always, we are very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And I am coming to you from the Frank Walker Law Studio. Thank you to Frank. Thank you to Variety. And, of course, DEK Roofing, as always, for helping us out in doing this show every week. And as you will see, no doubt, in the screen that you are all watching live, those of you that are watching live, I'm by myself. I have already filed a notice of memorandum to the HR department here at Steel City Blitz, because this just cannot happen. I cannot do this show by myself. I could entertain you for probably 7 or 8 minutes, and then you would likely want to end your lives. And I don't want anybody to do that. But I will do my very best until Ben gets rebooted. Ian's like five drinks in, so he's going to be absolutely hilarious. And who the hell knows where Scarps is? He could be chasing the dog around the basement. I don't know. Anyway, welcome in. I see Cliff is in, Burner's in, Bill's in, Tom's in, Freak's in. Welcome, everybody. And if you're not in the chat, please feel free to do so. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. We will continue to be here to entertain you. At least I will be for the foreseeable future. I mean, drunk Ian is pretty good stuff. It's kind of like watching Sheldon of Big Bang Theory get too many drinks. You know, he just loses control of himself, and maybe he's lost too much. I don't know. But thank God Scarpino is here, so I don't have to talk the whole damn time.
Sorry, man.
Somebody's got a red Solo cup. Welcome in, Scarps.
Hello, Steel Dad. How have you been?
Hey, outstanding. It's good to have you back, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'm here. That's my name says it all.
I am
Where's
here.
Where's the other jag-off?
Well, apparently Ben is rebooting. And Ian, I have no idea. I mean, the safe thing is to suggest one of his kids hasn't gone to sleep yet.
Fair. You know? There's a 70% chance.
Right? So I think we're pretty good there. But Burner wants to trade TJ. Freak thinks I've already had some drinks. And 10 minutes, Burner, thank you. I appreciate that. It's usually why I keep the Inside Blitz shows to right around 10 minutes, because I drive my own self insane. Ben running on 98 AOL dial-up. That's funny, Aaron. That's funny. And likely true. Scarps, how was your trip out to Boston last week?
That was good. It was quick. It's good, quick, but got to see a lot of colleagues, got to meet some new people. It was nice. Had a really good meal Thursday night. Obviously, I would absolutely not have been able to afford it, but someone else bought it, so I'm much obliged.
Those are often the best meals, quite frankly.
It was unbelievable, but I had a ribeye, and it was probably the best steak I've ever had in my life. It was
no kidding. Wow.
It was just phenomenal. Yeah, it's just absolutely like melt in your mouth. Perfect medium rare. It was
that man.
Good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I consider myself quite a grilling connoisseur, and I love doing ribeyes, man. But that one sounds pretty damn good.
Yeah, and they gave you like the bone. They gave you like the bone with the butter in it. It was like bone marrow butter cap or something.
Yep.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
I could never afford this place. It was way too high end for me. You know what I mean?
I believe me. Craig filled in for you last week, and believe me.
Does my internet suck too?
No, you're hanging in there.
Oh, okay.
But Craig always treats me to a very nice dinner, and he usually wants to go somewhere I could never afford either.
Yeah.
So I buy breakfast at Pamela's on game day morning, and then he takes care of dinner. So I get off pretty cheap. Hey, you know what? Let's just go ahead and start talking Steelers because these assholes aren't coming around anytime soon, at least from what I can tell. But mini camp's over, and Ian and I have talked about this for years, but this is always the scariest time of the NFL season, in my opinion. Just simply because of the fact it's the dead period and there's nothing going on, and it's when things have happened in the past that have not always been the best, not just in Pittsburgh but in the NFL in general. So you do kind of hold your breath a little bit, and again, thankfully we haven't really had any of these things in recent years. When you were there and the team broke minicamp, did Coach Tomlin have any parting words of wisdom, or was it just you're all grown men? I'll see you in July.
I mean, sometimes I don't know. I mean, I definitely remember him. Maybe it wasn't at that moment, but he definitely would be like, "Don't do anything stupid, like stay out of the news and stuff like that." And
Right.
But as we talked about, it's a self-regulating locker room, and
Yes.
they don't necessarily have the guys like they used to. They don't. And, and when I do talk about this on X, people will be like, what about Cam? And it's like, okay, yeah, I think Cam's a leader. I didn't say he wasn't a leader, but, I don't know if Cam, I know he's a fellow podcaster, and I'm sure he's listening right now, but
he's getting some tips is what he's
absolutely.
doing.
I don't know if he is at that level of a Ferrier or a Hines or a Jerome or a Troy. And Troy never even talked, but I just don't know if he's at that level. Same with TJ, same with Minka. And, we've seen those guys over the last couple of years talk about people's effort, people's attitudes, and I think they were talking about George Pickens, to be honest with you. But, yeah, I don't, I'm sure Mike always has some words to say, but I don't know. I don't know if it was just, stay out of the news type of thing, but I mean, that's the goal, right? Stay out of the news.
Absolutely.
And
do you think if, and I'm not knocking him, we've been over this, but do you think if Cam Hayward or TJ Watt had a Super Bowl trophy in their locker, do you think it would carry a lot more weight when they speak?
Yeah, Steel Dad. I don't know if it's my audio. It sounds like I can't hear you that well.
Oh shit. I think I'm good on my end.
Maybe it's me. God, I'm having all kinds of issues.
You sound fine right now.
Interesting. Maybe it's my stuff. Hold on one sec.
Okay. Yeah. I got nothing. I think you muted yourself.
What about now?
There we go.
There we go. All right, you sound great too. See, okay, two guys try to fucking figure out shit. Yeah, I do think that. I really do. I think if they had a couple more playoff wins, and again, we're getting to the point where Jesus Christ, still that tough crowd here, man.
Very tough crowd, man. These assholes.
And a friend of the show, Zach Smith, posted the other day, and he's right to a point. He said, I understand the playoff drought. It is what it is, man. It sucks, but you could never have a conversation without fans bringing it up,
right?
And I was an asshole. I was an asshole when I said well, maybe if you win a playoff game since the Obama administration, and I was like, whoops, didn't mean to bring up the playoff drought. But I'm serious though, when you start to think about that, Cam has only been part of one playoff win. He was hurt for the other one. Boz has been part of two.
Yeah.
And everybody else has not won a playoff game as a Steeler. And you think about that, that's just so it's so that's so wild to think about. And because they were just so, the later Noel years, they weren't that great, but they still won a few playoff games. Yeah, Vinny, my guy.
Zach.
See, it was it was I didn't say anything bad, but it's like that. It is annoying. And I know it's annoying because I bring it up a lot, but I do think it's starting to really, really be more important than it should be. But it's the reality. They haven't won a Super Bowl. They haven't won playoff games, and yeah, I do think when you win, that carries a lot of weight.
What do you get more tired of? Do you get more tired of they haven't won a playoff game in 9 years, or Buddy has never had a losing season?
I am all for chaos, a little bit of chaos, and I've said this on a few times. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if the Steelers went 8-9, got the final wild card, won 2 playoff games, lost in the AFC Championship game. So Mike would have a losing season, but he would also have made his 4th AFC title game, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm right.
I mean,
I'm with you.
it is like Zach, we're cool, man. I know. I get it. It's like it's so hard to not talk about it because it's like approaching territory where like it's like their scarlet letter. It really is.
Yes.
Like it
Yes.
is
Good analogy.
It
It really is.
I was about to say something horrible, but whatever.
Well, it's and I think Zach brings up a good point in the chat that the Steelers post something about Pat Freiermuth getting engaged, and so what do people do? They immediately turn it into something completely off topic.
I didn't see that, and I'm very happy for I don't know Pat, but obviously very happy for him because it's a big life moment. Just like I'm happy for TJ who had a little baby, like it's fucking cool. Like, but no, Zach brings up a good point that like there are assholes on the internet. Like even I'm a Jag, but I wouldn't even do that. Like who's waiting?
I don't get that either.
Who's waiting for that type of? Who's waiting for that moment to be like, well, you win a playoff game? It's like,
well, it's got to be like just miserable people. That's all I can figure. And I would like to welcome in these two assholes.
There are assholes on the internet?
Well, yeah, and on this show.
I was not aware. Well, yeah, you 3 are assholes. Late? I knew that. But I showed up.
What the hell?
I knew that before, so it is what it is, man. Yeah, sorry, technical difficulties.
All good. Scarps and I have just been basically talking a little bit about just the idea of the non-losing seasons thing versus the not winning a playoff game in 9 years, which is worse. And, we're just kind of biding the time till you guys showed up. And the chat, by the way, is cooking tonight. Freak and Burner, I think, got together and said, we're flaming these fuckers tonight because they've been on fire, and Ian, Cliff, and everybody else is as well. And what was really funny is Scarps mentioned a Twitter conversation with Zach, and Zach jumped in the chat out of nowhere.
It happens.
Yeah, it's been a good start. So now that you gentlemen are here, and look, there's the Rodgers stuff, there's the TJ Watt stuff. I'm actually going to start with something a little bit different. And Ian, I'll ask you this, even though I'm sure Ben and Scarps could easily get this as well. But who were the starting receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowls 40 and 43?
40 was Hines Ward, Cedric Wilson, and Antoine Randall L. 43 was Hines Ward, Santonio Holmes, and Nate Washington.
Okay. And
here's a guy who's had some drinks tonight and still remembered that shit.
Ding, ding. I got to get a sound effects board. Yes. And is Kelvin Austin III as good as any of those guys?
No.
Okay. So my point in asking that is because Zach Aziani was pretty clear in saying that right now he's the number 2 receiver. And look, this has nothing to do with Kelvin Austin III because I think he's a great young man. I think he busts his ass. He plays hard. He's all of 5'9", 150 pounds, given everything he's got. But can we really expect this offense to do great things if he's the wide receiver 2?
No. I mean, well, here's the thing about Calvin Austin, right? Because DK Metcalf is gonna draw double teams. He is clearly the best receiver on the field. He's gonna get the double teams. Austin has the deep speed to be able to beat a guy off the line. So he could have a decent season because he's not going to get double covered. He's not going to have that safety shading him. And if you shade him with the safety, then you throw the ball to DK Metcalf every friggin' time because he has single coverage, right? So, I mean, I could see it working, but he's not an every down number 2 receiver. You're not going to put Calvin Austin in there on a run play and ask him to block a cornerback, right? So that's one of those things where you can't let your personnel project what your play is. And we've done that a lot in the past, right? We've joked about the Miles Boykin situation where it's like, oh, Boykin came in the game. It's obviously going to be a running play, but you can't be so predictable that whatever personnel you have on the field tells them if it's going to be a running play or a passing play.
Right.
That said, I don't know if Austin has really good long speed. I don't know if he has the short area quickness and maneuverability to be like an elite slot receiver, but he has the body of a slot receiver. So you kind of have
weighs 175 pounds. I mean,
you kind of have to scheme him up in a way that if you want him to be successful, you have to scheme it for him. He's not going to do it himself, right? Like DK Metcalf could do it himself. DK Metcalf could be double covered and still go get the damn ball because he's that big and that strong. Calvin Austin's not going to do that. You have to scheme it for him. And if you scheme it well for him, he could be successful, but I'm not convinced he can do that on an every down basis either.
So as of right now then, and look, I mean, minicamp's over. We've got 6-7 weeks until they report July 23rd, 24th, which by the way, that seems like it gets earlier every sinking year. Ben, are they gonna make a play to find somebody at that number 2 spot?
Well, they're trying now. The
thing
is,
but I mean, I guess what I poorly phrased question: are they going to really try to find somebody and not?
Okay, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Are they going to try? Yeah, they're trying, but Omar's trying to do it as cheap as possible, and apparently Keenan Allen doesn't want to come to Pittsburgh, so he's out. So there are not a lot of great options out there, and whatever they end up doing. Omar seems to be dead set on underpaying, be it a trade, because they're going out and they're throwing out really bad offers for trades, low offers.
Sure.
And if they sign a wide receiver too, I bet it's a guy again on a 1-year deal at a low rate. I don't understand exactly what the thought process is here, but like I told you guys today, if you actually are a team that is seriously trying to be in the Super Bowl conversation every year, like you say you are, then you go out and you get your new quarterback a wide receiver too. Not to mention the fact that if you look back historically, the only time Arthur Smith's offense has ever worked is when he had a viable wide receiver too.
True.
And you've got a solid wide receiver 1, so that's all good. But and I understand trading away Pickens. I'm not criticizing that. But, you got to replace him now. You got to.
Well, I mean, at some point, wouldn't we agree, Scarps? I'll throw this to you. First of all, Scarps, my question to you. Who were the starting wide receivers in Super Bowl 45? Seeing as you were there.
Mike Wallace. Hines Ward, and I'm trying to. Who actually started the opening snap? I'm gonna. Okay. Emmanuel Sanders, did he start?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
But then the AB, Arnaz Battle was also on the roster. I think those were the 5 wide receivers on the roster.
Young money crew, baby.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
Well, no, I you know,
it's almost like having a good quarterback. You don't always have to have the greatest receivers.
Right, yeah.
As
It
long as you
helps,
have a
doesn't
fucking
it?
Good quarterback.
yeah.
I mean, he made the Jericho Cotcheries of the world look like they were, all
True.
world.
True.
Jericho was a good wide receiver before
I
he
love
got here,
Jericho.
but still,
Jericho is a solid slot, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was nifty in the short area.
Yeah.
Like if you needed 7 yards on third down, that dude would find a way.
And he makes some tough ass.
He would get open for 8 or 9, and that was great.
He was really good in the red zone too. Like he knew where the goal line was and how to get in the end zone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, Zach. That will be the only time that AB gets mentioned tonight.
You don't want to talk about. You don't want to talk about murder charges.
Holy shit!
Yeah. For those that don't know,
attempted murder.
But Antonio Brown is wanted. I believe was it in Dade County? For attempted murder charges stemming from the incident back in May, where he got into a fight and grabbed was it a security guard's gun?
Grabbed a security guard's gun.
Yeah, and fired a couple
toward the guy and fired a couple shots.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything more than that, Matt. I did not see the whole video. I saw some clips of it, but
I saw the end.
Yeah. So unfortunate, obviously. I think at some point, Aaron Rodgers, Scarps, don't you think he gets involved here and says, hey, look, I really need a number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
For Devontae.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard.
Alan Lazard would be my guess.
So I want to. So I didn't get. I missed the show last week. Obviously, I was. Yeah. My apologies. So
here's a guy who made me do Casey.
It was good though.
He did a nice
job. Let me do this.
It was funny, but it was not Casey.
Ian, Jesus Christ, tough crowd.
Listen, I started that by saying this will be the Duck Hodges of Casey Kasem's. I prepared you for what was to come,
and you came with big balls,
and it was funny.
It was like if Duck Hodges threw the ball right to Tre'Davious White, but it went through Tre'Davious White's hands. It was great. It was like no.
I tried. An attempt was made, right?
Ian, it was great. It was a great pinch hit performance. So my one quick thing about Rodgers is that people are like, oh, why don't you like the guy? I don't dislike the guy. I don't hate the guy. I don't know the guy. All I know is what I see on McAfee, is what I see in his documentary, what I see how he interacts with the media, and he just always strikes me as someone that thinks he's the smartest person in the room. And listen, I know I'm a jagoff. I know that for, all my listeners, I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Okay. But hater. I just Rodgers just isn't someone that I necessarily want to hear more from. Right. I just don't. And now he's the quarterback of my team. It's just such a weird place to be in. So I'm not rooting against him. Obviously, the better he does, the more successful the team's probably going to be. So getting back to your point, I absolutely would think that he either if the whole thing all along was, they trusted one another and they knew that Rodgers was going to come the whole time. So if that's the case, then there has to be another move, at least very close or very possible, because if you're almost 42 years old, you don't know if you still want to play. You got a lot of personal things happening in your life. You have a lot of people, you alluded to, people close to him going through some adversity. Why would you come here knowing that George Pickens is gone? I don't know. So I'm assuming that they have something lined up. I don't know what that is.
I'm assuming they told him they were going to trade Pickens.
I would, based on the article that Albert Breer wrote this week, SI.com, he laid out the entire spring really, really well. Now that didn't come up, Ben, but I agree with you. I think that had to have been discussed. Like, hey, Aaron, we just want you to know we're going to try and move this guy.
Yeah, hey, if you're going to
Here's
do
why.
any throwing sessions, maybe you should just go with DK and
Yeah,
not DK
yeah,
and Pickens.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Because Pickens, we're probably going to move on from.
Yeah.
But still, like, you would have to think something. You would have to think they're actively pursuing someone.
They're
but-
actively pursuing several angles. They're just not willing to pay the price the market would require to make those acquisitions.
So then, and again, and I keep asking this question, and I know Ben's gonna bust my balls when I say this, but like, I truly mean this. I listen, Mason Rudolph is a professional. I don't care that he's not getting a chance. It has nothing to do with that, and everything to do with
Are you sure, Aunt Kelly?
Jesus Christ. It has everything to do with, again, like, Rodgers is just, he's polarizing. I don't care what anyone says. He's polarizing.
Yeah, for sure.
He is a figure. And you know what? He has had great optics this week. I saw a story today from Brooke Pryor that he was super kind to one of the Steelers coaching administrators, Chrissy. Chrissy is wonderful. She's been with the team for probably 25 years now. She's super thorough. She will do whatever sort of, whether it was Todd Haley, who else on offense? Todd Haley, Bruce Arians, anybody, any offensive coach. If you wanted it done this way, you want it done that way, she would do it for you. So it was nice to hear that. But so go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying he has very good optics this week.
Yeah, this week has been, I don't like to use the word perfect, but it went very well, not just on field and practice and pajamas, but it also with what was said, things went well. And, I think it was, I just want to address this real quick. Yeah, Richard, I agree. Lifting up Rodgers, I wrote an article, I think yesterday about, is what it is. He's our quarterback.
Matt Smith was a totally inappropriate comment, but I'm going to laugh about it anyway. Fucking, that is so rude.
Yeah,
so rude.
That is rude. I'm
so
going to
rude,
help
man.
laughing at that. But
Matt, I was going to say
Ryan.
such nice, kind things about Matt tonight, and he just screwed it.
Yeah. All right, I have
She's a
question
nice
for Ryan.
lady.
Yeah,
Hey, Ryan, how many touchdowns did George Pickens have last year?
4?
I know.
3.
It was 3.
I think it was
Okay.
3.
It was 3. How many did Alan Lazard have last year playing
5.
for the New York Jets?
5?
6.
6.
Yeah.
So even for the people who are really bad at math, 6 is double 3, right? Like,
Christ,
I mean,
you were all fucking evil tonight,
I'm
man.
telling
Like,
you, people came in here
it's funny.
flaming tonight.
When I'm an asshole, everybody hates me. When I'm nice, everybody hates me. It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just saying, like I jokingly threw out Alan Lazard because we all know that, like, Aaron Rodgers loves him.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a connection there that, like, especially in the red zone, Lazard and Rodgers have a connection. And I mean, yes, he only had like 530 receiving yards last year, which would have been like 6th on our team, who was bad at receiving last year. But
I'm on my 3rd, but that's fine.
Zach, you're actually not. Zach's not far off.
Ian got the hat on tonight.
Yeah, Ian, why did you get such an early start, by the way?
I can't
Ian?
see his eyes, so I can't
can't
tell if
either.
he's hammered or not. This is
Totally intentional.
Totally, yes. No. Well, Ian went to like a dinner party at some friends' houses and had a few drinks before the show.
I thought you were at the U.S. Open or that.
No, Ian was at the U.S. Open and that yesterday. So Ian
there's the hat.
Yeah, Ian wore his U.S. Open hat because I was there yesterday. But nevertheless, like
Ian said, nevertheless, time to take a drink.
Drink.
That is the Ian drinking game.
True.
It's fantastic.
No, I also have these U.S. Open gigantic drinking glasses. By the way,
Outstanding.
like, these things
Are they
are
20s?
huge.
Is that a 20 ouncer?
I think it is. It's huge. At any rate, no, but right, like Pickens, had 3 touchdowns last year. If you would tell me, okay, you can trade a late round pick, a 6th or a 7th for Alan Lazard, who has a, $2.4 million salary this year in the last year of his contract. That's essentially a 1-year deal because it voids after this year. I mean, if he gives you 5 or 6 touchdowns, like, isn't that worth it? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking myself into this, but like, I hate the fact that we signed Aaron Rodgers to begin with. I talked about this last week ad nauseum. Yeah. I don't need to go through it all again.
No,
but there's a connection there, and I want the Steelers to do well. Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler, so I will cheer for him because he is a Steeler, even though I don't like the situation. So now that he's here, he likes having his friends around him. So if you can get Alan Lazard for a 7th or a future 7th, like,
right,
it's not giving up that much for a guy that has that kind of connection.
I don't think they're going to give him up for that, though, because I think going to Pittsburgh, they're going to know that Pittsburgh wants him to pair him with Aaron, and so they're going to ask for more than another team would be willing to give up because they can. You follow me?
Yeah.
I think
very good point.
The way I think that conversation went was, we'll give you a 7. If you're looking to move on from the guy, and it was probably more along the lines of, no, we want a 5th. And it's like, okay, well, moving on. We'll talk later. Let us know if you change your mind. But
does Lazard even make the team? He already agreed to a reduced contract for this year.
Does he make their team? I don't know. And that's why that's why the inquiry was made. It's like, this dude is not going to be there anyway. Why don't you just trade him away?
Yeah.
And, they're biding their time. Maybe the Jets are still pissed off about Broderick Jones. Fuck, I don't know. Anyway, back to Mark's original point about the optics and everything else this week. The thing that occurred to me this morning actually was, I don't love the Rodgers signing either. We've been bitching about that for months.
Right.
But you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. I'm impressed that he cares enough about what the people who work with him think, that he's going out of his way to make that good impression. I like that, and I appreciate it because I've worked with a lot of assholes in my life, you 3, for example, and I worked with a lot of assholes, and it's nice when somebody comes in and they're like, you know what? Maybe people think I'm a dick. I'm gonna try to quell that arrogant reputation I have and just work at being seen as a good guy for a little while. And then, later on, if we need to have some conversations about something and I need to get serious, maybe I'll do that then. But anyway, I digress.
I think it's a very good point. We talk about people changing themselves, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever, over the, it doesn't matter when. You can do it at 20, you can do it at 30. Maybe he's doing it at 41. I don't know. I think it's a good point.
Maybe. I mean, there's a long track record that says no. But,
right.
We'll wait and see what happens. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah,
and he reportedly got married in the off season, right? That can
he said a few months ago,
change some people's perspective.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And did it change anyone's opinion at all? His comments about well, if we're going to do throwing sessions, they've got to come to Malibu.
No, I think that he was just being sarcastic. He basically,
I think so too.
Hey, I'm gonna have to talk him into coming to Malibu because it's so hard to be out there. It's so rough. They're going to Malibu.
Yeah, there's worse places to get on an airplane too. That's for damn sure. So I don't
go LAX, but
one of the things that cracks me up, and I know it does you guys too, but I'll just mention it anyway, is when somebody posts a video of Rodgers, doing a drill. And they make these comments like, "Oh my God, he's in peak, prime physical condition," and it's like, fucking relax, man. He took a 3-step drop, he moved to his left, and he threw. I relax. I mean, people are just getting
it's football and shorts.
Exactly.
I will say this: the dude's arm is still impressive.
The arm is still there. We knew that.
I was like, but again. like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Brett Favre at the end, he can still throw the ball through a
Yeah.
wall.
Just didn't know where it was going, but
Yeah.
Russ looked like he could throw the ball too, but
Okay.
I'll say this. I would
Yeah.
rather take a guy who still has the arm strength and can get it there than a guy like Brady his last year or Manning his last year,
Right.
who still had it mentally, but did not have the arm strength to get it there.
Right.
And I'll take a guy with the arm. I'll gamble on a guy with the arm strength over a guy.
It matters.
Yeah.
That and
over a guy who can't
he's,
get it there.
As you pointed out several times, his whole career, his footwork has been less than stellar, and it doesn't matter. Like, he's just got so much arm strength and he's got that quick release that it just doesn't matter. You know, I'm not going to say it's Marino, because Marino had
that was unhuman.
That was a ridiculous release. I mean, my God, but it's close.
I want to address Matt's question real quick. Would you be more happy with a playoff win and maybe pick 26th, or sucking and get a top 10 pick? Ian?
That's a hard choice.
That's a hard choice. I mean, because I've said all along that the worst case scenario is like finishing somewhere between 8 and 10 wins and losing in the first round of the playoffs, or just missing the playoffs and picking between like 17 and 23, where we've always been. Like, that is the worst. We need to address Smitty's question too, by the way.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah. But I like winning one playoff game with Aaron Rodgers doesn't do anything to help this team long term. Like, yes, it ends the streak and so on and so forth, but it's a 1-year contract. It's a 1-year Band-Aid. It still doesn't help us. I kind of feel like I would rather, I hate to say this, I feel like I would rather suck ass and get a good pick this year and be able to get a quarterback for the future that can be good for, or at least let us contend for the next decade, rather than getting one playoff win. Like, if you told me we would win the Super Bowl, that's completely different.
Right.
But one playoff win, I'm not taking one playoff win over a quarterback of the future.
Okay, Scarps, I'll give you that question.
Sound reasoning. Are you muted?
Now, here's a guy.
I'm fucking thinking. Calm down. Jesus,
Brian, I
Christ.
went on a soliloquy so you could think.
That was a lovely soliloquy, by the way.
This is gonna be the. I'm gonna say something I think you're gonna be surprised by what I'm gonna say. Fucking win a playoff game. Win 2, win 3, win 4. I don't give a shit. This season is going to be entertaining regardless. And if they cap it off with a playoff win, does that make me think better about next year? Not really. But
Exactly.
But I look at each season as it is. It's each season, right?
Yep.
And if they win a playoff game this year and they lose in the divisional round, so be it, because they got picks galore next year, and they are going to trade up to get their supposed guy they believe is going to be their franchise quarterback next year. So whether they, to me, 0-17 would be historic, but whether they suck or whether they win the Super Bowl, I really don't think it's going to impact the way that they move up.
Agree.
Because they're going to take their guy next year. They are. Like, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories in the NFL, the fucking draft is in Pittsburgh next year.
Right.
The Steelers have about as many picks as they've ever had in an NFL draft. And if you didn't think fucking Art Rooney is hopping in his canoe and fucking swimming from Acrisure to Point State Park to call out that pick, well then, hey, I got news for you. I don't think he's going to do it anyway. But the point is, like, and now Mark Merlin brings up a good pick. Not a good idea to trade up for Jeff George or Ryan Leaf, but you don't have to trade up to 2 to do that. Like the Chiefs got Mahomes at 11, and it wasn't a haul to get to 11, and they were at 27.
Yeah, it was 2 firsts basically. It was that year and the future year.
If things go as people seem to think, there's going to be 6 or 7 quarterbacks available. I mean, if those guys all, now we know that doesn't usually stand pat, but there's going to be a better, let's put it this way, it'll be a better draft class than this year. As quarterbacks. Ben, did you get a chance to answer that question? What would you rather have there? Top 10 pick losing season or take a playoff win and maybe draft 26th?
I'm with Ian. Like if they were going to win a Super Bowl, I'd be excited about it. But let's say they go to the AFC Championship game and they lose there. Yeah, that's a respectable season. I'd be excited about that. But also bearing in mind that this cast of characters they have in the team this year are not going to stay. I don't expect Rodgers to be in Pittsburgh more than a year.
No, me either.
And then hopefully ride out and fucking retire so we don't hear from him anymore. But we'll see. By the way, it was 2 firsts and a third to move up from 27 to 11.
Okay,
so
for the Chiefs.
So they swap first, another first, and then a third.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then a third. So I don't think that the thing I've been telling people over and over and over again is, look, yeah, it's nice having all these third round picks because you like to get starters with those picks. But I don't give a shit if you group together all 4 third round picks. That doesn't equal a first round pick. So you're not going to be able to move up much with those picks. The picks are
it's
there.
Not like money, or it's not like draft day.
Draft day.
Cleveland Browns.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's
Ian, you're slurring. I love this. I'm not the drunkest on the show for once. This is fucking great.
Well, I'm giving them a run for your money a few times. But I think they got all those picks because they want to build a cast around this quarterback they're planning on picking up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yep.
And they're going, hey, these
Agreed.
are premium picks we could potentially be getting. They've got at least 2/3 right now, and probably are going to get at least one more, possibly 2, but
possibly
at least
2.
So it'll be good.
Let me ask you guys one more Rodgers related questions before we move on. Is this the first time we've had a quarterback that can read the entire field since 7 left?
No.
Russ
Russ
could do it.
could do. Yeah.
Russ could do it. Okay.
Russ could do it.
All right.
He just couldn't get the ball there anymore, especially late in the year. I thought he lost arm strength. I thought that he just couldn't get the ball where he knew it needed to be. Mentally, he was sharp enough, but the dude, like he's talking about things now. He's going on these podcasts and these talk shows in New York and talking about how great it is in New York, and he should have gone to New York last year. And I'm like, dude, you would have gotten fucking destroyed last year in New York too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're done.
Yeah. If he thinks our offensive line struggled last year.
I mean, I think he's better than Mason will be this year, but not by much. And Mason may still have some upside, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was impressed by that 3-game run he went on in the end.
Sure.
I didn't think he played that well in the playoff game, but when you get behind that far,
right,
the defense can kind of dictate the game and go, oh, you're going to throw it, so we're coming with everything we got.
Yeah. Okay, so T.J. Watt not at mandatory minicamp this week. Are you surprised we haven't heard from him at all, or you think it's pretty status quo, just stay quiet?
I don't know. It's he's going to get an extension. I've accepted it. I don't know if it's the best thing for this team long term, but he's going to sign. They could have avoided this last year. If they would have extended him. The thing about it is that JJ, like if we talk, JJ has like talked about it like 3 times in the offseason. And I mean, the longer if TJ doesn't show up to training camp, and I don't think he is, because the last time this happened, they didn't go to Latrobe.
Oh, you're right. That was COVID, wasn't it? Was it
Correct. They were on
Yeah.
the south side.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think this is a little bit different. And
That's true. They were
I
at the
don't-
stadium.
they were at Southsider Stadium, but maybe
Yeah.
both.
No, it's a very good point though.
I don't think he shows up. I don't think he goes to Latrobe if they don't have a deal. And then I think it's again, I know he's ultimately going to sign. And candidly, I texted or I messaged the group here and I said, I don't think he's going to sign till week 1 of the regular season. Like kind of like a Nick Bosa over the couple years ago when he played, and I think he did play against us, and I think he had a sack. But I'm not saying that TJ needs any practice reps or anything like that. But as we talked about earlier, before you guys joined the show, about like if TJ and Cam had a Super Bowl trophy or a playoff win, would their presence or would their words carry more weight? I think this is, and I still say this, I think it's a fragile locker room. I think it's a vulnerable locker room. I think that they're looking for any sort of leadership. Maybe Rodgers is that guy. I don't know. Is Cam that guy? I don't know. Is TJ that guy? I don't know. Is Minka that guy? I don't know. They need something.
Minka's not.
I'm confident.
Okay, and I want to be fair because, like, I know,
it's because of his demeanor.
Yeah, but I mean, I know. I ask, on X, when's the last time Minka made a play? But it's like in a self-regulating locker room, they don't have the type of winners. They don't have guys who've won, and that has to be like now. Rodgers has won.
Yep.
Cam's won playoff games. He just hasn't won one in a long time.
He's won one playoff game. Boz has 2. They're the only 2 that have won playoff games as Steelers.
2016. That was only one.
Cam was out one of those.
He tore his pec, whatever year it was.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So 2016, he tore his pec when they won 2. He won the wild card game against the Bengals in 2015. That's it. And I feel that, again, this is why I keep saying you're bringing a polarizing figure into the mix. Now, maybe Rodgers is awesome behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't fucking get the guy, or I don't know the guy, but I don't know, man. So if you're TJ, I know he wants more money, but like you're still under contract. Maybe just show up, just like you did last time. You didn't do anything, but you were there. Hey, I'm here to support my teammates. I don't know. That's just
hold in. He did individual drills. He just didn't do any group work.
Well, but just show up, but don't do anything. Don't do anything. Just show up. Hey, I'm here. I'll support my teammates. I'm going to let my agent and the Steelers handle this. So the fact that he's not there, and again, he just had a kid. So did I. But and I still go to work anyway. But yeah, right.
That was what Ayuk did last year when they were trying to work out his contract and he just stood there in street clothes. Yeah. But he was there. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I
liked the hold in better. That was me.
We all
Having
agree.
A kid is no excuse for not going to work.
That's right. You're damn right. Yeah. Look, he's going to sign. I think the only question is when.
The only question is how much.
Do you think it's how much or how much guaranteed or both?
It's how much guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how much guaranteed money, 100%.
Yeah.
Because they already know what the number is going to be.
Right.
And again, I've made this point before, but $40 million this time is a lower percentage of the cap than $28 million was the last time. And I know they're going to be reluctant to give out that $40 million, but everybody can do math, and that point's going to be made. And Art's going to be like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to pay that much. But yeah, it comes down to the guaranteed money. I mean, like I told you guys before, he's probably looking. It's probably going to take at least $90 million. But if I'm his agent, I'm asking for like 120. I want 3 years guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Ian, what would a good year look like for TJ Watt, assuming that he gets the type of money we're thinking? I mean, what does a season for him look like where we're going, yeah, that was definitely worth it?
18 sacks.
Oh, Scarps, agree?
I mean, you got to average more than one per game. At this point, I mean, considering what he's done in his career, like 17 and a half, 18 is probably around where you want to see him.
I don't know that. And here's why. Sacks were down league wide last year, and holding calls were also down league wide last year.
Yes.
Go fucking figure.
Yeah.
So the league is clearly trying to give offensive linemen an advantage and create more scoring.
I'm sorry, I had clicked the wrong button there. I would be willing to give up a few sacks for, let's say, some more forced fumbles. Those types of things.
Tackles for loss are
Tackles for
huge.
loss.
Tackles for loss are a huge stat, man.
They are, and I'm willing to do that. And I think the problem is that people are so focused on.
All right,
how
about if we say this? How about if we say 40 combined sacks plus tackles for loss?
Oh, that's a tall order, dude.
That's
a tall order. 40?
I would love that.
40, 35 or 40. I don't know, somewhere in there.
I think that's a huge number. I don't see that.
Ian, do you have it in front of you? How many
was 2021?
Yeah.
So
last year when he was hurt for half the year, he had 19 tackles for loss and 11 and a half sacks. So that's 30 and a half.
30.
All right. The year before, when he was second in Defensive Player of the Year to Myles Garrett, he had 19 sacks and 19 tackles for loss. So that was 38 combined. The year he won Defensive Player of the Year, he had 22 and a half sacks and 21 tackles for loss, which was, 43 and a half combined.
That's ridiculous.
So maybe realistically, let's say 35 combined sacks and tackles for loss. Like, I think that's a fair 35 is probably a fair number.
And forced turnovers, I think again, that's even more valuable than you start doing that, guys start thinking they're worried.
Yeah.
Oh shit, here comes Watt. Oh my God, it's coming again. You get into their heads, and then they're not thinking about what they're supposed to be doing. They're just thinking about protecting the ball.
Right.
And by the way, they're behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scarps?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question because he has said that he hasn't been as open to moving around the line as he thought he would, and then as he needs to be. But then, like, we still have Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin calling the defense.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean this. I think teams have found a way to minimize his impact on the game. And I'm surprised it's taken that long for teams to do that. So I think this season is a huge opportunity for TJ and the coaching staff to move him around so he's not limited.
It's kind of disrespectful, I think, to the rest of the defense. And they should take this as a shot at them, that offenses will literally dedicate 3 guys to stopping him on a play and go, yeah, the rest of you aren't going to get there anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, and again, he's a fantastic player. I'm not denying that. But getting back to your point, I'd be fine with 12 to 15 sacks if that meant he didn't disappear down the stretch like the defense does. Like, and that's the other thing too, is they sort of go by This isn't just a TJ thing. They're built on pressure. D-line, outside linebackers,
Pressure
they
scheme.
go as the defense, right? The defense goes as they go. So,
Yeah.
so when especially towards the end of the year, they were. I mean, they fold like a lawn chair every season when it matters for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know. And I look up JJ stats, and JJ had injury history. TJ doesn't have that, but when JJ turned 30, after he turned 30, he had 22 and a half sacks in 50 games roughly. His production absolutely declined. And again, he was hurt.
He had big time injuries too.
He had big time injuries, but again, but then you get to the point where it's like, I'm fine with TJ having those numbers, but is that worth a massive extension? I don't know. And if there's any, and I said this the other day, if there's any team that knows how to draft pass rushers and develop them, it's the Steelers. I mean, Greg Lloyd was an AP All-Pro first team 3 years in a row. He wasn't a pick, and he wasn't a one jersey player. I think he played for the Panthers 1 year at the end of his career.
He did.
Yep. Jason Gilden wasn't a Steeler his whole career. He was a pretty good pass rusher. James Harrison, they discovered he was at NFL Europe, Lamar Woodley played at a couple other teams. So this whole thing that TJ has to be a Steeler his whole career. He has to be. He doesn't. He doesn't.
Is that sort of thing changing now though? Where a guy, some guys have to be one helmet guys. I don't believe it's the way it used to be 20 or 30 years ago when loyalty seemed to mean a hell of a lot more. And I'm not saying when Belichick traded Richard Seymour that was like the moment that happened. I think there have been other moments as well, but I don't know. It just feels it would be just so wrong to see him not somewhere. But on the other hand, man, you could get such a haul for him right now. But that's not going to happen. No use talking about it.
I think that the organization would prefer that he be a one helmet guy because
for sure
he's a Hall of Famer, and they would like to keep their Hall of Famers in one helmet for their entire career.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
I think Freak makes a good point here talking about extending drives, keeping your defense fresh. It's kind of funny because Tomlin was asked today about why they were doing their on-field practice sessions in the afternoon, and he said because it's hotter.
No. He was talking about Latrobe.
Oh, was he Latrobe?
He was talking about Latrobe. He made the practices mid-morning practices last year, and he's moved them to the afternoon instead. And he said it wasn't hot enough last year.
Right.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Yeah.
And I reached out to somebody in Latrobe today and talked to her about that. She's like, the community really liked the fact because we had big crowds because it was morning, wasn't that hot, and the businesses made more money because the crowds were bigger and people were coming in and picking stuff up on the way. And I was like, oh well.
I don't think Mike's going to let that bother him, though.
I don't think he is.
No. Go ahead, Skirps.
Real quick. We talk about the one jersey. Guys. Give me 1 second here. One jersey, guys.
He's doing some research.
I am. The official sack leaders since 1982.
Yep.
Only Michael Strahan, and I'm looking at Michael Strahan 6 all time in sacks. He's the only player that was a one jersey guy.
Wow.
and I'm at John Abraham is 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Not a one jersey guy.
Nope. So you're basically saying it's not unusual.
No,
No.
Kevin Green played for like how many teams, right? Like
5.
Like, yes,
Actually, no, he played for the Panthers twice. So
Right.
Yeah.
technically,
Yeah.
you know, like these guys went to other teams, right? They did. They went to other teams. So like, again, I know the whole TJ
Kevin
thing
Green was
is
a
just like,
nomad.
oh, he has to be. And it is funny
Again,
though. That it is funny.
You're talking about fan preference, and I'm relating it back to what the organization wants. I think their intention is to try and keep him in one helmet his entire career, and I think that's probably going to happen. But we'll see. I don't know, man. Maybe he pulls a JJ and he gets frustrated by the fact that the team isn't actually trying to win a Super Bowl and says, "Fuck this, please release me."
Yeah. I that has crossed my mind. I have a hard
know?
time believing that, but you're not wrong.
That's what JJ did, and they did. They released him. They went, "Okay, you've given a lot to us. We're going to go ahead and we're going to release you because you're asking us to."
Yeah.
Then he played that additional year in Arizona, and then
staying on the defensive side of the ball.
So go ahead. One quick thing to finish this. So out of the top 20 all-time sack leaders, only Michael Strahan, Lawrence Taylor, Derrick Thomas, and Robert Mathis were
helmet guys.
One helmet guys.
Wow.
Okay. Again, though, and I understand the point you're making about the NFL as a whole.
Right.
I'm relating it back to the Steelers, and it's something you've told us a bunch of times that Dan told you is that he regretted letting Franco walk. He regretted letting Rod Woodson walk. And my understanding at the time actually was they had a deal with Woodson and had scheduled a press conference, and then Woodson changed his mind and didn't sign it.
Yeah. I was going to transition to the fact that the Steelers have already made the decision to name Derrick Harmon a starter on the defensive line. And, I think for some of us older folks, that seemed a little odd this early to do that. What were your thoughts on that, Ben?
I thought it was unusual. They've done it a few times here and there before. Obviously, Najee was given the position right out of the gate. Yeah. It's happened, and there's not a lot of depth behind him at that position. So I guess it's not a total shock. But
that's what I chalked it up to. Yeah.
What they have done the majority of the time for the last couple of decades is make those guys, quote unquote, earn it. We're not going to, Zach Frazier last year was basically the starter out of the gate.
Yeah.
Too.
He had
to earn it.
Right? Yeah.
He had to earn it for, 2 weeks, and then he was a starter, and that we never looked back. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a new day there. Maybe it's not. Carl Dunbar coming out and saying, yep, he's the starter. Scarps made the point this week in the Slack chat that, Coach Mitch would have said, ask Mike Tomlin. I don't know who the starter is going to be.
Right.
It's true though, man.
I'm not telling you.
It is. No, it is. I have to believe Carl felt confident enough to just go with that. And I don't think there was a problem with it, as Ben pointed out. It's not like there's a tremendous amount of depth behind him in terms of what he was beating out. So I didn't have a problem with it at all. A couple other things I know some were asking about earlier. You've got these two defensive backs, Jair Alexander and Jalen Ramsey, apparently available. Ramsey, I don't know. Scarps, what do you think?
He'd be expensive, but I think only for a year.
Yeah.
Be expensive only for a year. He has some. He could play that slot position and or nickel, but that's just a position they like never seem to care about as much.
It's been a while since they've hammered that down.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of pricey for a nickel, but also at the same time, you never know. Like it could be his agent just trying to get him.
Absolutely,
some money.
Some of that,
but yeah, I would take Ramsey over Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander cannot stay healthy.
No.
And the Packers.
What are you talking about? He's only missed 20 games over the last 2 years.
Yeah, the Packers GM pretty much just said that, and I don't think he meant any ill will. It's just true.
Facts are facts, and when it comes to injuries,
and he's an outside guy, and I think they think Slay can be that guy, and that's fine. So that doesn't make sense to me. But Ramsey, kind of expensive, but that would make sense. And people aren't going to like this, but if you sign Jalen Ramsey, he'd be expensive for a year. You could probably rework a deal. And what if he ultimately replaced Minka?
Oh,
at free safety?
Free?
I don't think he's looking to play free safety yet.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I guess my biggest issue with that would be
I'm just thinking of like a bigger corner that converted to safety later in there.
He's not much of a tackler.
Okay.
If I recall.
That's fair enough.
That's the only thing I would, the
only thing that I mean, from my standpoint, that sucks. If you trade for Ramsey, one is you got to give up something to get him.
True.
And he's got a whopper of a fucking guarantee this year. He's got a huge guarantee, $24 million and change. I don't know how much that's already been paid.
Right.
But he's got a gigantic fucking guarantee. And if you trade for that contract, you trade for that guarantee. And on top of that, the dude, like, the knock on him is that he just doesn't get along with everybody. And if he doesn't get along with you, he gives no fucks.
Right.
He just tells you, he doesn't really try to get along.
Yeah.
He's not concerned with good first impressions like Aaron Rodgers was this week.
That's funny. Freak's got a good question. Guys, who are scouts out there shaking the bushes for the next QB? What's their success rate? Are they new? Do the Steelers still use Blesto?
Yeah, I think they have a Blesto.
Yeah, I think Blesto is still around. That's the longtime scouting service that they've used, and obviously they have regional scouts, guys like Mark Bruner out west. And so on. But as to the heart of the question about, success rate finding quarterbacks and stuff, you'd have to question, I don't know who had all the glowing reviews of Kenneth Shane Pickett. But clearly somebody did. Ian is passed out face down on the desk right now. He very well could be, Cliff. Under the guise of one of my children woke up. It could be. Zach said scout on the team. Told me they
love the idea of Ramsey in the slot. Yeah, right. That's the other thing. I mean, you've already got two corners. If you bring in Ramsey, where do you put him?
Well, I mean, you got Pierre and you got Trice behind the two boundary guys right now. And I think Trice is fine when he's healthy.
You think you want to have a $24 million corner who's a backup?
No. And I don't think the $24 million guy would want to be a backup.
Nope.
I don't think Ramsey's coming here, period. And I don't think Alexander coming would be a smart idea either. The guy's injury history is just too much.
Atrocious, yeah.
And I think we've seen in the last few seasons, especially, that once training camp starts, a lot of really good guys come free as teams try to get in under the cap. They find younger guys, they ship off the older guys. There's going to be people available. It's just whether or not we can afford them and whether they fit, those types of things.
I don't see Ramsey playing in the slot, and I question whether or not he'd be willing to, if his ego would allow it.
Well, at this point in his career, he has the ability to call the shots, I suppose. I don't know. Any other questions from the chat people? I'm basically, did I have anything else on the agenda tonight?
Where's Ian?
Well, Ian, I'm going to guess Ian went to put one of his children to bed. He's the one sleeping while the child is probably going tish, 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 tish on top of his head. Yeah.
Oh, damn, Aaron.
Another
Jeez, Aaron.
Yeah.
Whoa. If we keep talking about the slot, there will be another SCB baby. Jeez, Aaron. It's a family show, man.
Yeah, right.
Kinda, sorta. Yeah. What do you guys make of what's going on in Cleveland? They claim it's going to come down between Sanders and Gabriel. One of them will make it, and one of it won't.
I think that's a stupid Twitter rumor. What I heard
in pajamas right now.
Yeah, exactly. What I heard was that honestly, Pickett was the worst looking of the bunch. That didn't surprise me. So, we'll see what happens. It's comical to me. One, I don't care what anyone says. That draft sucked.
Yeah,
they ignored positions of need in favor of drafting a skill position twice. Fucking stupid. And it's classic Cleveland Browns. Well, one of them will work out. We'll have it. No.
Well,
They're idiots.
Blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, I suppose. If you keep drafting them, one of them will work out.
I think you got a couple of decent running back prospects. I really do. But you only got one ball.
Yeah. Also true. Yeah, I don't. Who was it that posted the image of Rodgers' hands on the ball next to Pickett's hands on the ball? That was pretty good.
It was obviously Tomlin.
That's right.
Obviously not Tomlin.
Not Tomlin. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was fantastic. It just shows you. I mean, yeah, granted, Rodgers has gigantic hands.
He does.
Because the ball actually looks small in his hands. Every time I see it, I'm like, Jesus, man. It's like Ben. Same deal. I mean,
oh God, I knew he had big hands, and then when I shook his hand, Ian's back.
Yeah, sorry. When my kids woke up, I had to get them back to bed.
Oh, okay. Well, I would advise you not to go through the chat because there were a lot of suggestions as to where you really were.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
I told you guys, I said.
I know what you said in the private chat, but
all right.
No, I just besides it was funnier to let these guys go.
I understand.
He was covering the slot.
The chat is the chat is the best. The chat makes
Ian or Aaron's he's in his feels tonight. Or as the kids say, he has aura tonight.
Definitely has vibes.
Yeah, it's got some vibe.
Oh man, get working out. Yeah, that's it too. Did I have anything else on the agenda tonight?
Casey.
Well, Casey. I expect a really good Casey tonight. No pressure. No pressure at all. Yeah. Is Casey ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, I made it back in time for Casey. This is great.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was June 12th, 1977. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, heard about Green Bay, heard about New York, heard about Pittsburgh, PA. You ought to know not to swim in the rivers. Somebody see you down there. I got some groceries, got me some jumbo to last a couple of days. But I ain't got no speakers. I don't use no headphones. Too many radio waves. Casey, that's of course a parody of the Talking Heads' Life During Wartime off their 1979 album Fear the Music. And as we all know, new Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers does not use Bluetooth, which is not to be mistaken for my favorite girlfriend from McKeesport.
Wow.
Casey,
Way to alienate the listeners there, buddy. Thanks.
they'll get it.
Yeah.
Casey, I'm of course referring to the band The Talking Heads, not the national media, who have already said, regardless of what happens this season, Mike Tomlin would get another job in 5 minutes. And they asked us, what other head coach are we going to get? There's a thing called job security. And then there's Mike Tomlin, who has been playing with Al's money ever since he won a Super Bowl with Cowher's players. Casey, that joke never gets old. But seriously, Casey, if the Steelers suck this year, it won't be Mike's fault. After all, he's never had a losing season. I'm not sure you heard that before. I never have. I was stunned when I looked it up. Tomlin has never had a losing season, no cap. And if they do well this year, he will be called a genius for his desperation to sign Dr. DMT himself, Aaron Rodgers. Casey, I'm sure by now you saw that Rodgers signed and was in attendance at Steelers minicamp. Rodgers will be 42 in December. And that got me thinking. You see, I turned 38 yesterday, which is 1 year less than former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger was when they took him behind Acrisure Stadium and gave him the old Yeller treatment. To no one's surprise, Rodgers will join the Roethlisberger podcast before Mason.
True.
Let me be clear about Rodgers. I don't dislike him. I don't know him. But everyone is so quick to say he's misunderstood. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But if you thought the Russ Kool-Aid was strong last year, well, the strength of Rodgers Kool-Aid makes Jim Jones' batch look like mineral water. It makes the Hail Bob Comet folks look like they were drinking San Pellegrino. Picketologists, Fields Fiends, Russ Truss, Mason Davidians, and now the Rodgers Rooters. Casey, I can't get behind these fans who put players over team. They don't give me peace of mind.
Oh,
Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And because I was in Boston last week, keep your radio tuned right where it is. Up 4 spots to number 38 this week. Here's Boston with peace of mind.
outstanding. Welcome back. And what an outstanding selection, Boston. What a fantastic band. Oh, man. If only they weren't named Boston. In any case, hey, next week we are going to start, and Ian, you can correct me here. It's our all 21st century team of the first 25 years. Is that
Yes.
somewhat right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. We will give you the best players at we're going to do just offense next week.
Yeah, I figured like we'll talk about other stuff too, right? But
Oh,
kind of
sure.
like the draft. We'll do offense 1 week, defense the next.
Yeah,
week,
it's the
but-
dead period. We need filler.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
I'll
Yeah.
give you guys a hint. Cam fucking Thomas will not be on this team.
Probably not.
But will Ziggy Hood be on this team?
Probably not.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. But we'll do that
Yeah.
next week. Again, thanks everybody in the chat. It was fantastic. You guys did a great job as always. And thanks to everybody who watches and listens on their own time. We appreciate it. And there's a reason Feed Spot told us a couple weeks ago that we're one of the top Steelers podcasts. And believe me, it's not because of the four of us. It's much more you guys than it is us. Believe me.
Yeah.
We just show our faces on here, and that's about it.
Yeah.
The website is stillcityblitz.com. Check us out on our socials and all that and everything else, and subscribe and like and all those things the kids say. And that's it. We're getting out of here. And as always, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.